Alrighty guys, today is hopefully the day where we start this thing for the first time. If you didn't see the last video, we hit sort of a roadblock. We got to the point of just cranking it over, didn't prime the fuel system yet or anything, just the goal was to get it cranking over with the ignition system, and that didn't happen. So spent several hours diagnosing it. I pulled a crappy alarm out of here that was intertwined through everything, got that removed. I pulled the starter out, made sure the starter worked outside of the truck, this and that, and kind of came to the conclusion that more drastic measures were going to have to be taken. It wasn't some basic troubleshooting thing. It was something with the ECU. So between the troubleshooting and a lot of your comments on the last video, it kind of is narrowed down to either the key losing sync, the security system basically being active, or a combination of both. So another interesting thing is we went back and looked, and the video when I got this truck, way before the swap started or anything, the security light was flashing then. And I do remember I tried to start it just to see what would happen. I knew the engine was blowing up. I was a little like, I don't know. And I turned the key to the ignition and it didn't turn the starter over. And I thought, okay, you know, something's disconnected or, you know, whatever. Security system has been triggered basically. So there's not really anything I can do about that here. So what I did was I called the locksmith. We got a locksmith coming today. They're going to make us a second key fobs, which will be just like a luxury, and then hopefully be able to reset the security system. So yeah, they should be here in an hour or two. I got a couple things I want to knock out before then just to make sure everything else is good with the truck. And yeah, hopefully that fixes it. I don't know. Fingers crossed though. So we need to add a better ground from the engine to the chassis. I need to go through these plugs and just clean them out, make sure they're good. These are the plugs you disconnect when you pull the cab off. And I guess these can also lead to a no start condition or no crank condition. So I want to check those. Another thing that was commented that sounds like it could be the problem is I removed the factory fuel pump and I don't have my lift pump plugged in where that one was. So basically the truck knows that there's no fuel pump coming on and being registered, and that could also cause a no crank condition. So yeah, we're gonna do all those things. I guess first we'll throw the fuel pump in there. That'll be easy enough. Where did I put it? Right here? No, right here. We're just gonna plug this in, slide it on the frame rail so it doesn't fall out. All right, so the biggest fresh wire and terminal lugs I have is 4 gauge. I would think 1 per side would be enough, but I wanna go check the Dodge first. So this is the parts truck I bought to pull the engine out of. You know, that way we knew it ran and everything was good there. Let's see. Do we have the negative battery terminals in here still? There's one. So we can definitely make that work. And is there another one? The other one is MIA. But that's good. We have at least one. That'll be helpful. Alrighty, well, we've taken a bit of a break from diagnosing the Fummins build to work on other projects like the Subs, which the Subs is coming out nice. Got big brakes now and new intercooler. The Miata has a fresh engine ready to go in it, 6.2. We're gonna be doing that shortly. But the ever-burning question on my mind of what is going on with this thing, bugging the crap out of me. So we're gonna work on it. One thing I did do also while you guys are gone is I got the drive shaft back from the drive shaft place. Got that in, it fits perfect. So at least we're good there. We've got front and rear drive shafts. That was kind of a big thing that needed to get handled. So now here's where we're at. The locksmith came out, no luck. So basically he was unable to communicate with the ECU, so he couldn't reset the anti-theft system, which is basically the problem is right now we're getting a no crank because the anti-theft system is triggered. The anti-theft light is flashing. We need to do a anti-theft reset, but to do an anti-theft reset, you have to hook up to the OBD2 port and do it through the ECU with the correct software. From some research, it seemed like the ECU might be bad itself, and that was why we weren't getting communication. So I ordered a new ECU. This is part of why we've taken a break from this thing. It took me like 2 weeks to get it. Finally got it, put it in, and we're in the same boat as we were in before. Same exact problem. So what I'm gonna do now is hook the batteries back up, and we're going to use our multimeter to diagnose our OBD port and see if we can figure out if we have an issue with the CAN. It seems like we don't know what CAN bus is. It's basically 2 wires, it's CAN high, CAN low. Imagine it like sending code. Instead of having to send individual analog power, you know, CAN can send tons of information. Like my digital dash in the LS Miata, 2 wires for all that information. So it seems like something's wrong with our CAN stream. Either something is down, you know, like a module is down and it's not reading, or, you know, we have a short somewhere or something, which all of those kind of tough to figure out. So anyway, we're gonna get down there and diagnose that OBD port, see if we can't figure out what is going on. Man, those goats are loud. What? What? What are you yelling about? All right, just for good measure, let's make sure we still can't connect with our OBD scanner. I've tried other ones. I've tried HP tuners. I've tried, the Locksmith tried with his stuff, so we know it's not a scanner specific issue. It's just an issue with the truck connecting to scanners in general. Oops. So I'll let that go. The fact that it hasn't connected yet would lead me to believe it's not going to, but we'll see what happens. Let's see, it's about to say can't connect. That one always takes the longest, Pt.13. And ready for disappointment in 3, 2, 1. Timed that wrong. Oh, that was close. No communicating. So what we're gonna look for, a few things. So we need to see if we have power on pin 16, which fairly certain we do because it powers on the scanners. Yep, we got 12.2 volts there. Then we're going to be checking for ground on pins 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3. Ground there, ground there. Okay, and then we need to check the resistance across. With them off, let's see what we got. 66 ohms of resistance. Slid off it. So I know it should be 60. I don't know if 66 is passable, but I would assume so. All right, last thing we need to check is our voltages here with the key on. So got 2.02 and then 1.95, so that's not right. It should be a combination that gets to 5, but we've only got 1.95. We got basically just under 4. Interesting. Well, you guys can laugh at my expense because we figured out the problem. Actually, I didn't figure it out. Dwayne Ramsey, he's a friend of mine from Texas, fellow drifter. He was at Clutch Kickers with us. He was pitted next to us, awesome guy. So he hit me up. I was like, man, I wish I could come take a look at it and help you figure it out. So he's brainstorming, he's thinking, he's giving me ideas. We're looking at, I've spent 2 days on this thing, diagnosing all sorts of other stuff, pulled the interior fuse box out because it's got some corrosion. Moral of the story, checked a lot of freaking things, right? But my diagnostics of the can stream seemed to prove that it was working. It wasn't down. If it was down, we would have got different results. So I'm like, okay. So he goes, you know what? Let's go back to the basics. Sends me the fuse box diagram. He's like, check your PCM relay, which is this gray one right here. I open up the fuse box. It's really hard to get this lid off. I just today finally got the lid off all the way where I could get back to the back because it's kind of like sandwiches in there. Anyway, I'm like, there's no relay there. That's interesting. And then there's 2 fuses that are important, and they're not there either. I didn't want to believe that it was going to be that simple because of my luck. It's not that simple. I went to Ford. I bought a freaking relay. What do you know? No anti-theft light, no nothing. This thing just cranked. I mean, I stopped it immediately because I think we got, yeah, we still got paper towels in here, but I turned it on. There was no anti-theft light. I connected with the OBD scanner. It connected. I was like, oh my gosh, we're really there. Turned the key, she cranked. So, oh, I'm stoked. All right, so now we can actually try to first start it. I've also got the correct wiring harness for my fuel pump, so I can wire that up. We can get fuel to her. We can try to crank her. So I was gonna dive into the LS Miata today because, I figured it was gonna be a while with tinkering before I figured this out, but we figured this out. We're working on this, man. So yeah, I guess we're gonna push it in and get, you guys do not know the relief that I feel right now. This is a huge relief. Huge. I was getting, so stressed out about it. I was thinking about it constantly. I wanted to start working on the Miata, but I couldn't even bring myself to dive into another project while this thing's just sitting out here and I don't know what the hell's wrong with it. And it's always something simple. Not always, but most of the time it's something simple. So yeah, again, super. Gotta go message my friends that have been helping me with this and let them know we got it figured out. And huge thank you to Dwayne Ramsey, saving my life. Fresh eyes save lives, as he said. Okay, we're gonna get this thing back in the shop, get back to work. Try to start this thing today. All right, so the first little project I want to tackle is this ground wire. I only had like 4 gauge wire ends, so I had to do it kind of jank, but I got some 0 gauge. So we'll shorten this up, mount it down here, much better spot for it. And just make sure we have, that's just a good solid engine to chassis ground. Those are important. And then what else do we got to do? We'll do the crank again, just make sure we're good there. Maybe we'll be able to see oil pressure on the dash. And now that it cranks, the next thing is wiring up the fuel pump, priming the fuel system, and then trying to physically start it. Like not just crank it, but actually start it, first startup. So I can't describe how much of a weight that is lifted off my shoulders that got that issue sorted. So I'm sure we'll have more hurdles to overcome, but we got that one out of the way. So let's get back to work. All right, this is my preferred method of putting these little copper lugs on. Just gonna heat it with a torch, fill it with solder, shove the wire in. Definitely the way to go. I used to put the wire in and then like add the solder around it, but this is way easier. Next up, fuel pump wiring harness. Basically, the fuel pump I have is for Dodge. Because we have a Dodge engine, we need the Dodge pressure, which is much lower than the Ford pressure. However, the harness obviously is for Dodge, and we need the harness, which I have now, that plugs into our factory fuel pump connector so that the fuel pump comes on when the ECU tells it to, which is important. And yes, I could have like hardwired it to just key on, but I don't want the pump to run all the time when the key's on. So anyway, I ordered this harness from Fast directly, so we have it, and we just got to get it in there and route it. Should be easy enough. The fuel pump harness I got, I figured would be plug and play, like the Dodge one is, but it's not. It's just got a red trigger wire, so this just basically excites the relay, turns the fuel pump on. So we do need to figure out which of the factory fuel pump plugs we need to use to do that. But anyway, we'll figure that out later. For right now, we're just gonna hook it up to the battery. I checked, the fuel pump is working. I haven't taken this off to see if we're getting fuel up here, but we're gonna try to start it. Got a piece of wood in case she tries to run away on us. I don't think that's gonna happen, but you know, precautions. So yeah, I mean, this is a big moment. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but we're gonna give it a shot. Goes on its own. Battery terminals run out. Like I'm like letting off of it and it's like still going and then going again.
Yeah.
Oh, nerve-wracking.
But at least it's doing this now.
Yeah.
You know, instead of nothing.
No, exactly. That's like a huge relief to get to the point where it's doing something.
Right. I heard it like click over and your head just like pops out the door and you're just like, oh my god.
The engine and chassis ground. I have two of them, but it wasn't connected.
Oh man, that's crazy. It idled.
Was it this one? I didn't see this one before.
Yeah, well it was, I was trying to bolt it on down here, I couldn't find a bolt, and then I just like moved on to something else and forgot to bolt it back on, so I bolted it back up here. Because I think it was like, basically it was touching, when the engine would start shaking, it would like move away from the engine, it wouldn't ground for a second.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy, it was idling and everything.
Yeah. When it revved up, the first one was like, oh, was that you?
Yeah. I'm gonna start it again. We know it's not gonna run away now.
Yeah.
I just wanna see if it. If I can listen to it. Well, spotted one problem. My turbo drain is leaking. I was a little concerned about that because I didn't RTV it. I just put a normal, I just put the OEM gasket on there. And yeah, obviously that is not sufficient because it's leaking. So we'll have to take care of that, which obviously kind of not gonna be too fun, but we'll get it done. I already pulled the fender liner out for when I was doing the starter. So yeah, sweet. All right, I got her disconnected. Really wasn't too bad. So I'm just trying to make sure everything's dripped out. So when I clean the surfaces, they're good and clean. Then I'm gonna RTV the gasket, put it back together. Hopefully she doesn't leak this time. Got that turbo drain RTV'd up. I don't have a ton of faith in it holding because I'd clean it, and then it was just like, you know, just dribble out enough. So I think there's gonna be some oil mixed in with the RTV. It's gonna have a hard time drying. Anyway, I've gotta let that dry till tomorrow before I start this thing back up. Fingers crossed it doesn't leak, but hey man, this thing starts, it runs. I'm stoked, I can't believe it, you know? I really can't. All it was that freaking relay, man. I was just pulling my hair out for like 2 weeks over this, you know, and I'd tinker with it here, I'd go think of something, I'd try it, and it was one of those things, like it just bugged me so much. If you're a car guy and you have a project or a car or whatever and you have an issue you can't figure out, it just eats away at you. You just think about it nonstop. It's hard to focus on anything else. So anyway, I'm really glad we got past that. So future steps are getting the front end on, getting all of the accessories on. I do have the serpentine belt here, so I can put that on. But you know, belt on, fan on, fan shroud, radiator, intercooler, AC condenser. We got to make our AC lines. So we have like a manifold to bolt to the Dodge one, and then we'll have to weld that to our Ford ones. So we got to weld those, and then we'll have to weld up our intercooler piping. It's pretty simple, but we do have to make a couple modifications and use a mix of the Ford with the Dodge. Those are the two big projects left, aside from just slapping the parts on here. So we're really not too far off, and I mean, this thing would probably move under its own power right now, but I don't want to push my luck on this. So anyway, yeah, I guess that's going to be it for this video. We did get it started, troubleshooted it, we figured it out. See you guys for the next one. We'll keep making some headway on this thing, hopefully drive it really soon. So we're getting there. But yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, goodbye.